Alright, so another technique of mine is using the quad draw tool, which is here. So what is it? What can you do with it? How does it work? I'll show you. And it's very good for complicated shapes, especially like if I've got to do like a head. Yeah, a head of a character, and so especially if it's demonic or a monster or an animal head, it's pretty good tool to do something like that. Because like in ZBrush, it's easy to actually do characters. In Maya, it's a bit more complicated, it's a bit more work involved, but you can still pull it off. So you might not have ZBrush, or you might think that ZBrush is a bit too difficult for you. Anyway, so stop rambling on that and just get on with it. So basically, let's start with a cube and bring it up. And so we're going to do a head, and you think, well, why a cube? Well, because I like to smooth it, let's say twice, and it becomes like a sphere. And so you can use this as just like the blocking out phase. So it's like, right, okay, so let's do some kind of, I don't know, some kind of alien head maybe. Let's grab these vertices here, hit B, which gives you soft select, and then we can say, I don't know, maybe kind of give him like a bit of a mushroom head, bring it up, back a little bit, maybe just spin it around kind of thing. There we go, maybe the jaw kind of comes out a bit more, I don't know, we're kind of just playing here, I'm just kind of, we're blocking it out. So let's just say something like this is basically the head. Maybe just let's just grab these two edges here and make it like part of the jaw. Maybe just sticks out a bit more, something like that. All right, okay. So you're saying, well, okay, well, this is kind of like the basic shape, but what about stuff like? Actually, there's two lent back here, so I'm gonna just bring it forward a bit more. There we go. It's better up like this. All right, that's the basic shape of the head. Right, so you might think, well, you got the ears, the neck, the nose, the mouth. You got any horns, tentacles, stuff like that. Let's just make him a bit more gaunt. There we go, something like that. He's on a diet. There we go. Right, so first thing is like, well, what about the neck? Well, the neck is kind of like one of the easiest things to do because it's basically just a cylinder. So I'm going to just switch this on here so just we can see the wireframe. Drop it down to 12. Now again, how long or thin is the neck? It's entirely up to you. Maybe something like that. Yeah, that'll do. I like to get rid of the switch off the soft select. Get rid of these faces at the top and bottom. You don't need them. There we go. So that's the neck. So we've blocked out the neck. I'm just going to switch off the grid. Boom. You're like, all right. So okay, so we've done the neck. What else? Let's map out. I don't know, like the mouth. You got the ears. Yeah, let's do the ears. So click, and again, smooth. Yeah, just once. We're keeping this very, very simple. These are the ears. We go into world mode. Bring it to the side. Ears tend to kind of be like this. Dun, dun. There we go. If you want to, you can copy it over now or later. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. I'll just show you how to copy over. Control D, you've made a copy of it. Control G, I've put it in a group. Why is that? Well, when you create a group in Maya, the manipulator automatically appears in the center, which is perfect, as you can see here, in the center of the scene, which is highlighted by this dark vertical line and this dark horizontal line. So because it's in the center, you can do a perfect mirror, and we want to go in this direction, which is X. So scale X minus 1, boom. And then you can get rid of the group. So now we've got both ears. Right, so I want to project a curve to mark out where the mouth will go, and so once you start like marking out the actual geometry itself with curves and so forth, you want to have a bit more geometry. So again, shift right mouse button, click and say smooth. Boom, there you go. And if you want to, you can do two. So you've got more geometry to play with. The smoother the geometry, the smoother the projection. So I'll show what I mean. So let's grab a CV curve tool. There we go. And it's like, do you want the mouth to be closed, open? Is he happy? Is he angry? Let's do some kind of like really big, creepy smile. That kind of comes like that. There you go. Hit W. Let's center the pivot and let's bring it forward. Something like that. Now, what you can do is just delete half. There we go. And so we only need to really use half of this. And so I prefer this side because I don't really like that side. So we've got the curve selected, the geometry selected, and I want to project from the front. So edit mesh, project curve on mesh, and as you can see, current view direction, which is from the front. So boom. And I have the curve. Now it automatically projects at the back as well. That's fine. It's no biggie. So let's just delete history on everything. There we go. We can get rid of this curve and we can get rid of the back one. So we've basically marked out where we want his mouth to go. So he's got this really big wide smile. And then we can say, right, what else do we want to give this dude? Well, eyes, obviously. So let's just grab a sphere and mark out where we want the eyes to go. So let's just make it a bit bigger. Let's rotate it so it's facing us, because we can, when it comes to texturing and so forth, you can use this part of the eyes as the iris and just kind of put it into position. Now with the eyes, I'm never really sure of the position until I mirror it over. So Control D, G, Scale X -1. I need to look at both, and also let me just mirror this over. Z, no, X, there we go. So now when I look at the eyes, I'm thinking, does that look fine to me? Are they too close? Are they too far? And I'm thinking, well, for this character, I like the idea that they're a bit far, you know, because he's a bit weird. So let's just do that. So Control D, G, Scale X -1. I'm thinking, yeah, that's a bit better. Does he have a nose? Yeah, let's give the dude a nose. And so it's like, well, okay, let's cube, bang, bang, a bit bigger. Let's do the smooth and one more. There we go. So out of this, we're gonna make a nose. Maybe flatten it a little bit. Let's have a look. Maybe let's grab these vertices here, B, just a bit of soft select and just kind of bring it in a bit. Bring in a bit more. Let's have a look. Not bad. Maybe just this little bit here. Maybe squash it like this. Maybe a bit at an angle. Maybe. Sometimes when it's a bit difficult, going to the side view and hit 4 so you know you've grabbed both sides. B. Kind of just bring it out a bit and just kind of, I'm just shaping it a bit better so it goes into the something like that. There we go. I'm going to probably make it just a bit smaller. sure the pivot is in the center. Just squash it in, bring it down, something like that. All right. Okay. What else can we do? I don't know. Some horns, maybe. Yeah. Why not? So with the horns, you can go to curve tool, CV curve tool, and you can go pretty crazy, really. Something like that. Don't like the look of that. Let me do it one more time. Maybe like that. Control Z if you're not happy with it. You can do it as many times as you want. Maybe like that. Like that. Center the pivot, just kind of bring in a bit more. Let's have a look from the side view. I don't like things perfectly straight. I like to give it kind of like an angle there. And well, we'll wait until we've actually done with it and play around with it a bit more. Grab the curve and go create sweep mesh, and this just allows you to quickly create some curved objects like scale profile. You can make it big, but then you can taper it. There we go. I like to put EP to EP. It gives you a lot of resolution, and then you can just bring it down a little bit. Like I usually use about 6. 6 kind of looks fine. If you want to, you can put a cap on the end. Boom. And then it's like, yeah, I'm happy with it. Delete the history, so you've got rid of the curve mesh options. This bit you need to fix, so I like to grab that, switch off soft select, so grab that face and just say extrude R, boom, there we go. And then just grab the multi-cut and just connect these edges until you've got 4-sided shapes. If you want to add an edge loop here just to kind of sharpen the edge, there we go. And yeah, and again, if you take a look at the side view, it's a bit too straight, so if you want to, you can just play around with it a bit more, kind of twist it around so it's not perfectly straight in the side view. So again, Control D, G, scale X -1, boom, there we go. And you think, I really don't like the positioning. Alright, so let's play around with the positioning, maybe something like here. Bring it back a bit more. Or maybe even, do it forwards. I prefer it backwards, like that. Alright, okay, so Control D, G, scale X -1. That looks better. Edit, ungroup. You got your 2 horns. So basically, we're just kind of prepping everything up to do the topology for the head. So if you take a look, we've got all these pieces, and they need to be connected. And also, we've got to deal with this mouth as well. All we've got is like a curve. So this is where the magic of the quad draw tool comes into it. So first thing, to prepare it, let me click on this just to see, yeah, it's still working, because sometimes it just cuts out, and so I'm talking and it doesn't record my audio, and I've got to start all over again, which I don't want to do for this one. Right, okay, so we've got the head selected, and what you need to do is click on this little magnet, and you don't see anything, but if you click on wireframe, you can see that it's dark green, and that means it's live, which means it allows you to stick geometry to the object now. So you want quad draw, so you click once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, you've created your face. If you hold down shift, it colors in green. Click on it, it's blue. You've now created some geometry. You see, click, click, hold down shift, click, click, hold down shift, click, and then if you hold down control, you can create edge loops, you can move it along. If you hold down shift, you can smooth the geometry out. So this is the quad draw tool, pretty cool. So what we need to do is create the proper topology for this head. Now I like to just work on half, really. So boom, face, click, drag, delete. So we've just got half. And if you want to, you can have more res, because the higher the res, the smoother the output, which means when you're adding the quad draw topology, it just gives you like a smoother rendition. So smooth, there you go. So it just gives you better quality quads. So click on this, there we go, that's make live, and then you want the quad draw. So the first thing you need to think about is actual topology, how it works. So for example, with the mouth, you need so just drag this to the edge, you need edge flow that goes around the mouth. Like in real life, we have like muscles that go around the mouth that allows us to open our mouths, to talk, to smile, to eat, to yawn. So you want to start nice and big just to begin with. There we go. So this is going to be the topology for the mouth. So here, this is going to be a gap, you see, because it's the inside of the mouth. And again, and so with the nose, again, we want to go round. So and this is how the nose is going to be attached. So now we can actually start attaching the geometry, you see. So from the nose geometry of the mouth, it's starting to connect. So then you've got the eyes, and so you want to go round. Now you want to be careful, so you can start moving the geometry around, because you've got to allow room for, say like here, this eye geometry to go around. It might accidentally want to attach here, which is a mistake. So you've got to like move it out the way, and then you can move it back into position. And so there you go. So then you think, well, we've got some gaps there. Well, the gaps need to match. So if you hold down control, remember, you can create edges. And so we're going to move this across like this, move this across, and we can start connecting the geometry, you see. Now you don't want it to be too big. You want to be careful how you connect the geometry once they start pull away from each other. Like if you do this, like, oops, let me just bring this down and connect that and bring it back up. That's too wide, really. So you want your geometry to kind of go like this, and then here. So it's kind of like a puzzle. You're trying to figure it out. And the trick is to make sure you have four-sided shapes. There we go. So as you can see, it's coming together rather nicely. Now let's just say out of interest, we can take a look at this. So I'm going to select it, I'm going to isolate select it, click on this, hit 3, and as you can see, it's already starting to take shape. What you can do as well, make sure these edge vertices are all selected, and make sure you're in world mode, and bring it across here, and you want to do X middle mouse snap, so they are perfectly aligned to the center of the scene. So now we can actually mirror them across to X, just to take a look. Now already you can see the mouth forming, the eyes, the geometry around the nose. So it's already looking like the character. Boom. So remember to turn live on. Select the geometry back to the quad draw, and basically, just continue. So you want the geometry around the ear as well. There you go. So that's the geometry around the ear. Then around the neck as well. So it's always important to do this type of geometry first. The bits where you need other geometry to connect. You see. So the rest is just you've got to fill in the gaps. Like there, for example. Now the chances are you probably need some more geometry there. So here and here. Then you're like, right, okay, let's move this up about here, just to kind of keep it straight, like there. You don't want like weird stretching like that. It's just going to look weird. And also, you're going to see the stretching on your finished model. If you do, if you have something like that, it's going to look really weird. And so sometimes when you get to these points here, you need a break in the direction, because otherwise they're going to get too big. And so what you can do is start. Let's have a look. That's not too bad. You don't want it to go too wide. You might get away with it like that, but you might need some more geometry. So there's a lot of like moving around, guessing. It's kind of like a puzzle, really. You're putting a puzzle together. There you go. And remember, shift, click, drag. You can relax. I tend to do this at the end, and it evens out the spaces between the edges. You see, so you get nice, clean topology, all evened out. So let's continue here. There we go. Now again, it's a bit too stretchy here. Now I did shift control to delete a face, so shift control. So there you go. When it's too stretchy, what you need to do, instead of like doing that, it might work in this case. It's a bit stretchy. This bit here is very stretchy. What you need to do is change direction. You see, we're changing the direction of the topology to avoid the stretchiness. So this is just, when it's kind of like the open area like that, it's pretty simple really, because you're just creating four-sided shapes. You've already done the most difficult stuff, like around the eyes, the ears, the neck. It's just connecting it all. You have to connect it, and you end up going back and forth quite a few times trying to suss it all out, because like here it has to kind of match. Like here, that's a bit stretchy, but then again it's the back of the head. There's nothing much happening. we go. So obviously we need to relax this to make it a bit more even. And again, I tend to do this right at the end, but sometimes I do it while I'm modelling. So there you go. So that doesn't look too bad. And you know, you just continue. So again, here this kind of looks like that's a big stretch, but then there's not a lot happening at the back of the head anyway. So it doesn't matter if you've got some large topology. Like here, I guess it doesn't really matter. There you go. Just gonna move it down. Now we didn't do this part around the horns, so now the horns don't normally attach to the head, so strictly speaking you don't need to do this, to be honest, because the horns are usually made of like ivory or the same substance that nails are made of, whereas the head is like, you know, especially if you've got hair on it, it's a different material. It's usually objects that the same material need to be connected, like the ear needs to be connected to the head, the neck needs to be connected, the nose. So as you can see, oops, yeah. So it's all about putting it all together. I'm just going to show you the next bit is how to actually attach pieces together. And so let's just say we've finished. Let's select this for now, and let's just make sure all the center vertices here are all exactly in the center, because they're not, as you can see. So X, boom. So let's do a quick mirror. I'm just going to delete history, mesh, mirror. It needs to be on X. So let's just say we've finished. We've got this now. I'm going to grab this. Now when you mirror an object, the central part here always kind of sticks out a bit. It gives you that pointy look, as you can see. So select it and say edit edge flow, boom, and it softens it. So it pops it into position. Right, so if you take a look at here, this is where the neck is. If you double click it, it's then go into low res mode. It says 14, and if you select this cylinder, it says 12. So they don't match. Oops, let me hide that. So you got 14 and you got 12. It doesn't match, but this was just a guide. It doesn't really matter if it matches or not, because you can select the head and then select the edges, and then go to extrude W just to move it and just to bring it down like that, and maybe just kind of bring like that where the neck just widens out a little bit at the base. And then I did it extra long on purpose, because then what you can do, if you go to the multi-cut tool, go to the options, you can actually delete faces. So click once off the model, click the second time off the other side of the model, and make sure the perforated line in the middle is facing down, because it's saying it's going to delete faces below the orange line. And then right click to finish it, and there you go. So this original cylinder, we're done with it now because we used it as a guide. Get rid of it, and look at this now. When you hit 3, the neck is perfectly attached to the head. What we can do is grab the edge here, so this edge loop that runs round, and edit mesh and use a bevel, and maybe let's say segments 2, just to tighten it a little bit, and there we go. And so we can grab the multi-cut, but we want to switch off. We don't want to delete faces. Let's reset the tool. There we go. So now let's just add some extra edge loops. There we go. So if you take a look, we've now attached the neck, and we need to do the same with the ears, the nose. Again, the horns don't need to be attached because they're made of a different material. However, we can take advantage of the fact that we did create the topology here, and so what I like to do is just extrude them up a bit. W, just kind of bring it out, and then extrude in just to create some thickness. So you've created this kind of edge around the horns, and then obviously what you need to do is to fix it. So like you grab this edge here, and D to move the pivot, align it to this edge here, and then just pull it out here, align it here, and just pull it out. And with this base edge loop here, I'll just scale it out a bit more just to make it wider. You can add a bevel to it, segments 2. You can bring the fraction in, but if you find that just by touching it slightly it moves too much, that's because your pie chart has too much blue in it. So click on it and just give yourself a small slice of pizza there, blue pizza, so now you can control the fraction better. So when you hit 3, you've got this, and then also here, bevel, segments 2, maybe tighten it a bit more, and there you go. So you got this rim around the horn which makes it look much better. It sells it more. You can continue with just pushing it out a bit more if you want, kind of like that, and here as well. Yeah, a bit wide. The reason for that is you need more geometry there. You actually need more geometry. So mesh tools, multi-cut. This time switch on edge flow so it will respect the curvature. Boom. There we go, look at that. So basically, I know it's not finished, but that's what you need to do, really. And it's same, like if you take a look here, you can use this to create the ears. So where are you? Let's hang on. First of all, hit 1, edit mesh, extrude, and so we're using the ears as a guide. There we go. So something like this. Scale it out. Let's have a look at the side view. It needs to be brought back, and basically just use the ears that we created at the beginning as a guide, really. You see, and just continue. So extrude, bring it out about here, and then kind of bring it in. Just rotate it a little bit. There we go. Again, bring it out like this. Maybe rotate a little bit this side. Yeah. And just bring it back a bit more. There we go. So we can get rid of this original ear and just get rid of it. And so we've created an ear. And obviously we need to kind of fill holes, so mesh, fill hole, and we need to just connect. I'm going to get rid of edge flow. We just need to connect, really. So so I've added extra geometry. It's gone brown, so you've got to deal with that. And this is five-sided, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this needs to cut across here, cut across here. So more geometry here. Boom. Hit 3, and we've roughed out the air. Obviously it's very rough. We need to go in and just model it until you're happy with the shape of it. So I'm just going to kind of bring this in a bit more. And just keep going basically until you're happy with it. Oops, what am I doing? I just want to deselect that edge. So I'm slowly bringing these edges in one by one. Now I'm deselecting this edge. Actually, it's probably easier just to do it with the vertices. There you go. So you got to take your time really. I'm just kind of rushing it really just to show you my techniques. But like if I was going to like do this ear for real, you know, at least like a good hour on it, at least a good hour, just to kind of really get it going. I would also, with the multi-cut, switch on edge flow just to get the curvature there better. And I'll also thin it out. So I would rotate the pivot to about this direction here, and then just scale it in more. Same with this, just scale it in, and like this here, this vertex needs to just come out a bit more like this. And so basically you just keep playing around with it until you get the ear right. You know, like here, I find that it's sticking out a bit too much. Like here, you know, so I would bring it in like that. And you just keep going really until, so, you know, as you can see, it's slowly starting to take shape. Really, slowly starting to take shape. I would grab these edges here and just kind of bring them up a bit more because it seems too sharp for an ear. An ear is soft. So there we go. Yeah, so we've done the neck, ear, we've shaped out the mouth, and also for the eyes, you see, we've got, now if you want like to do like eyelids or some kind of details for the eyes, again, grab the multi-cut. This time I'm going to switch off edge flow and you just add more resolution. So now you can grab these faces and let's have a look. Let's go in this direction here and just kind of pull it out a little bit. And so you're creating these kind of like the, what do you call it, eyelids. And yeah, you just want to shape it out a bit because like here it kind of goes in a bit too much. And so you might want to just bring these out a bit. So I think you get the gist now. and you just keep going really. Same with the nose. We do have the geometry for the nose now, so edit mesh, extrude, we go in the side view, and we can start shaping out the nose. So RJ, I'm just going to snap it so it's straight, rotate it, and rotate it again so it's facing this direction, so I can like scale it in this direction. So I'm slowly building up the nose. I just want to see from the front view. Maybe just widen it out just a little bit more. There we go. So extrude. Bring it in. So as you can see, I'm slowly creating the nose. And let's just hide that for now. So that's what we've got with the nose. So as you can see, the nose is, then all you got to do is cap it off. It's that simple really. And then obviously clean it up. Like this requires a bit more geometry. So again, mesh tools, multi-cut, switch on edge flow, boom, it gives you a bit of a curve there. Also here, a curve. So when you hit 3, you got a nice curve for the nose, as you can see. Same with the mouth. Once the mouth is done, you would want to add some thickness to it. So extrude, maybe bring it down a little bit to create some lips, and then extrude again, and then just push it in. Or what I would do is hit W for move and push it in so it's nice and straight. And then just to create some thickness for the lips, then extrude again, and you want to scale them out. Just kind of bring it in a bit more. Up like that. Because you're here, from the top here, you're starting to create like the roof of the mouth. And also you want to start creating like the throat as the geometry moves further back through the mouth. You want to start thinking about the throat. You want to be careful that you don't hit the side of the mouth here so it comes out. So you want to be careful with the geometry here. Like here. So be careful. So we've created some thickness, as you can see, you know, like the mouth there, you see. So then afterwards you can start, obviously this looks weird because I only focused on half, but you know, you can always like mirror X, mirror it over, and obviously this ear bit can go, don't need it. So as you can see, it's almost done. I mean, this stuff is easy, the school bit and stuff. So what you can do is just go to face and just delete half. Select it again, and let's bring back the not the nose, but do display, show all. This, hit make live. Remember to turn the wireframe so we can see it, and then select the topology here, and then go back to the quad draw and just continue. And you know, you just need to finish it off, that's all. So let's have a look, and just keep going until it's done, really, and make sure all the pieces just get. So basically you're finished when there's no gaps left. So you like, and the only rule really is just make sure it's four-sided. So there we go, four-sided. See, sometimes you get into a little pickle like there, and you're like, what do I do here? What do I do? And sometimes you think, well, let me delete and start again. That kind of looks a bit better. Here, yeah, that's better. Okay, so yeah, don't be scared to delete and start again. Really, I do it millions of times because the point is you want good geometry, and just keep going. Really, that's all you do until it's finished. Just keep going. Like here, like the back bit is really easy. And at some point, probably going to add more resolution along here because, like for example, here, look how stretchy that is. But it's the back of the head. It might be fine, but still, you still want more geometry. So I'm just going to do that. But look at it crashing because there's no neck geometry to hold it in. You see, so you got to be careful. So what do you do? Well, you can just delete it for now because it's only the neck. It's easy just to pull it back out again. It's an easy piece of geometry to deal with, the neck. It's not complicated, so you just delete it, grab the topology, and then just continue. Now you can add the extra topology you see, and it's fine. So now you can continue. I mean, I only did the neck to show you how to do it. I would never stop midway through and do the neck anyway, and like the ears and all that stuff, like the mouth, the depth, the thickness for the mouth, the nose bit. That's all. I'd do all of that at the end anyway. So we're nearly done. It really is that simple. Boom, boom, boom. Bada boom, bada bing. You probably know what movie that is from. Again here, bit of a stretch there. So let's just kind of bring it down. Bit squashed there. And we're almost done. Look at it. We're kind of almost done. A lot of stretching there, so I'm going to add some more geometry there. And again, it's gone crazy because we built all this bit here. So again, you can delete all of that. So let's switch off Make Live. Let's get out the tool. Because this is the kind of stuff that I will do at the end, you see, anyway. So, but again, I just wanted to show you, I just wanted to demonstrate. You can just bring this in a bit more now if you want. There we go. So now I can add more geometry here. Right, so we're kind of nearly done, which is good because I want to show you the next bit, which is how to relax. There's a lot of stretching there, so again, I'm going to add more geometry. Now here it looks pretty squashed, but that's at the end. When you do the shift relax, it evens out the geometry, which is really cool. So don't worry about any like squashing geometry. Now here it doesn't really. We need some more. We need an edge loop here, but you always want to be careful to see where it goes. So this is going to go away to the neck. That's fine. So another one. So we are nearly done. I might as well finish it. This bit could be tricky. Very tricky. So I'm going to do some deleting and let's redo. So here, here, yeah. What I want to do is bring some of these in more. So like this. Oops. Now sometimes the geometry it doesn't really matter that much when you reach the head because if they're wearing a hat or if they've got hair, it covers up any kind of bad topology anyway. But if he's bald, let's say this character's bald, you have to be a bit more careful with how you topologize. So you can do stuff like this. I'll show you that. So it looks like a triangle, but really it's four-sided. 1, 2, 3, 4. So and like here as well, like that. You see? But you want to be careful not to overdo it because it could cause some like creasing in the topology. Right, so we've basically finished. So if we hit, let's. Oops, this is kind of sticking through just a little bit. Let's just bring it in. There we go. So I'm going to isolate it, grab all the edge vertices, yep, yep. So X middle mouse snap, and then let's just delete history, mesh, mirror, and put it on X. So if we take a look, this is the dude. You know, obviously we've got to redo the neck again. You know, it's fairly simple, but the geometry is like pretty bunched up around there, and it's not even. So this is where. So if we hit 3, you can see that there's, you know, like here some creasing. You can see quite a bit of creasing and a bit of lumps here and there, where the geometry is bunched up and uneven. So if you hit 3, and then this is where you can go back into a quad draw, but this time, if you hold down shift, you've got relax. Now, again, we're only going to do half. And then, but another thing you do is B, soft select, you see, and so it just covers more ground quicker. So by just gently massaging the geometry, as you can see, it starts to even out. Now don't overdo it because you can shrink the geometry a bit too much. Like here, can you see how it's really bunched together, really tight, the geometry around here? But by continuously to massage it, I'm kind of spreading it out so it kind of looks evenly spaced out here, you see. Just a bit more around here, the edge. I would say we're kind of more or less done. This bit could still prove to be a bit of a problem, but we can deal with that later. But if you take a look on the right side where we've dealt with it, it's way better. Maybe just a little bit here. And I'm going to hit or switch off soft select by hitting B. I'm going to select this central line. Because we smoothed it, it's moved off from the center. So remember to be in world mode, and I'm going to hit 1 and X middle mouse snap. So we now know this is directly in the center. And let's do another mirror. Ooh, wrong direction. So I'll just show you, because it's Z, we need to put it in X, that's all. So if you take a look at it, it's much better. Look how nice and smooth it is now. You see? And so, like, here, obviously, now I'm a bit worried that it might still be a bit too much resolution here. Now, if it's a big worry of yours, what you can do is do a bit of cheating and say, well, let's do that. So I basically created like a triangle. Then you get rid of this edge and you get rid of that edge. And also get rid of this, so you maintain your four-sided shape. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there you go. And now this can grab this edge, edit edge flow, boom. So you've moved it in a bit more, moved it and you've spaced it out. Now you might think, well, I want like a perfect circular shape for the neck. If you take a look at it, it's not very circular. It's going to make the neck look a bit weird. You can select the edge loop around the end of the model here, where the neck is about to begin, and go to edit mesh and say circularize, and it will give you like a perfect circle. But you got to be careful. It's if you take a look, it's kind of, it's distorted the geometry now. You can twist it back into, let's add more pizza slices there, so you can twist it straight again, you see. Now to make sure it is perfectly straight, you grab these two vertices, again make sure you're in world mode, and just snap it to a vertex you know is directly in the middle. Say this one, or this one, or this one. So now you have a perfectly straight, well, not straight, what I mean by straight as in it's a perfectly circled opening now, because we used circularize. There we go. And the only other thing is just to kind of tilt it. I just feel like it needs to be tilted a little bit like that, and maybe just kind of brought out a little bit like that. And then now we can extrude it to create the neck, and it's perfectly circular. And again, you know, if you want to multi-cut, I'm going to switch off edge flow and just kind of add some resolution. There you go. And it's up to you how you want to do the neck. Hit B. You know, if you want it to kind of spread out a bit more towards the base, so it's like that, or just keep it cylindrical. It's up to you. The point is, and so once you're done with this, you can delete it. And so if you take a look, you just got to add finishing touches, like here, like we did before. by bringing up the there we go, the geometry here, just to create there we go, hit 3. So you got this, and you think, well, hang on, let me just bring this forward a bit more. There we go. Again with the ears, if you want to create let's do 1, extrude, just kind of push it in a little bit. D, let's have a look, kind of, and then, you know, just play around with it, model it just to kind of add some finishing touches. Same with the nose, you finish it off. The eyes, remember to add some depth in the eyes as well. And basically, you know, you just there we go. So kind of some depth in the eyes. Let's hit 3. And there you have it. You got a character, and you just play around with it until you get it to the point where, you know, you really like it. For example, I might want to switch edge flow on, boom, boom. I've added some extra loops in. You might think, why? Well, maybe it's because I wanted him to, you know, frown. So you got some frown lines. And just keep going, really. Like that, you see. Then obviously you want to like mirror it over. So you can see the frown lines on both sides. So you already start adding some frown lines, maybe some bags under the eyes, some wrinkles. Obviously you want to do the mouth, the gums, the teeth, the tongue. If you want to do the rest of the body, some shoulders, it's entirely up to you how far you want to take this. But this is generally how, you know, you can do a character in my first modelling out the separate pieces, blocking out the general shape of the head, and then you go into make live, and then mesh tools, you grab the quad draw and you start creating the topology. There you have it. It's that simple, really. Boom, there you go. And so yeah, thank you for watching.